The Super Bowl halftime show, when did it get so black and brown? Because in the last 10 years, we have had the likes of Kendrick Lamar, Usher, The Weeknd, Rihanna, Beyonce, 50 Cent, Dr. Dre, Mary J. Blige, Snoop Dogg, Shakira, Jennifer Lopez, Bruno Mars, SZA, and now in 2026, we have just had Bad Bunny perform at the Super Bowl halftime show. And it's not just the fact that the performers were people of colour, but it's more about the styles and genres of music on display. R&B, hip-hop, reggaeton, salsa, soul, trap, and many other genres. And it is a clear and distinct shift away from what the Super Bowl halftime show used to be in the mid-noughties to late 2010s. For a very long time, the Super Bowl halftime show was neither here nor there. And it kind of felt like America was politely reminding itself that it used to love rock music. You would get these legacy, aging white acts that weren't fully reflective of the cultural zeitgeist at the time. Now, I'm not saying Paul McCartney, The Who, Tom Petty and Bruce Springsteen aren't legends. Of course they're legends and they should be treated as legends. But they're hardly pulling in and capturing a young audience. And respectfully, I'm not going out of my way to listen to them. You see, with an event of that magnitude, you kind of want it to be an event. You want it to be a talking point. You want it to be a moment. And we can actually dig that a little bit deeper because there's also this very interesting nuance for me, because I believe the way that certain generations react to the Super Bowl halftime show is actually kind of reflective of how they believe everything was better in their day. And now this point that I'm making can take this episode into a completely different direction, and I don't really want to divert too much. But I do believe that some baby boomers and some members of Generation X can't quite wrap their heads around, they still haven't been able to wrap their heads around the fact that young people have their own motion. Young people like their own stuff. And sometimes they don't like the things that older generations used to like. I know that's a sweeping generalization, but it does kind of somewhat explain how we have landed in the current political landscape that we have in the world right now. And disrespectfully, keyword disrespectfully, who is trying to watch Kid Rock perform in 2026? Who's trying to watch Kid Rock perform at the Super Bowl in 2026? Not me. Or not the people that initially agreed to perform with him. But we'll get onto Kid Rock and the all-American alternative show a little bit later. So as much as I posed the question, when did the Super Bowl halftime show get so black and brown? What I'm really asking is, when did the biggest TV stage in America finally start to reflect the culture that is actually impactful in the present day? So, on today's episode of Small Talk, we are discussing how African American culture helped to build the NFL audience, shape global pop music, and low-key, ever so slightly, outgrow a sport that once tried to sanitize itself for corporate white sponsors. Yo, what's going on? My name is Ore. I am a presenter, broadcaster, cultural commentator, and all-round creative idiot. And welcome back to another episode of Small Talk. This is where I sit in my bed and dissect the world of news, sport, politics, entertainment, popular culture, fashion, entertainment, and everything in between, but aim to delve that little bit deeper than beneath the surface. Okay, before we continue, should we get the elephant in the room out of the way? Let's get it out the room. Let's get it out of the way. Yes, I'm British. Yes, I'm black. Yes, there are black British people. I know. What a concept. What an absolute concept. Do I know anything about American football? No. I don't actually know who's playing in Super Bowl. Genuinely, if you were to ask me who's playing, I wouldn't be able to say the names of the teams. But that's fine, because I'm not here to talk about the football itself. Because I know about sport, and I also know about entertainment, and I know about politics. And that's what I want to talk about in this specific episode. And I shall probably caveat with this and say that I'm filming this right now, in this present moment. I'm filming this before Super Bowl 60 has happened. I'm filming this before Bad Bunny has performed. But I'm pretty sure I'll put something in the edit once it's done. All right, hi. It is me from the future. I have just finished watching Bad Bunny perform, headlining the Super Bowl Halftime Show. It is 2 a.m. in the morning in the UK, and as you can tell from the smile on my face, and the glisten and the glee and the joy in my eyes, I really enjoyed that performance. I really enjoyed that performance. It lived up to everything I expected it to be and exceeded my expectations. But I'm going to pause and we're going to go back to the original video and I'll give you my full breakdown later in this episode. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's do a very quick and brief history of the halftime show and why it's such a pivotal and important cultural moment. For its early years, the halftime show was basically university marching bands marching on the pitch. It wasn't anything particularly sexy. In fact, the very first halftime show was done by the University of Arizona and Grambling State University marching bands. As I said, it wasn't particularly sexy. There were a couple of balloons that were let into the sky, a couple of pigeons that were released into the sky. That was it. That was your halftime entertainment. But as it was halftime, people weren't there to watch some musical act. They were probably going to get snacks if they were sat in the stadium, or if they were at home, they were going for a bathroom break. I'm British. I don't like the term bathroom break. They were going for a toilet break. That sounds better. They were probably going to the toilet to relieve themselves before the game resumes. And one thing for certain, it most certainly wasn't the spectacle that it is today. Then we jump through a couple of decades and we land in the 80s and things start to get a little bit bigger and a little bit more colourful, and the staging became a bit more choreographed and a bit more ambitious. Up With the People performed, and it was this ensemble of college singers and dancers. And it was cute, it was nice, it was fluffy, but once again, it was not remotely close to the spectacle we now have today. So by the time we hit the 1990s, the halftime interval was the point where viewers watching at home would actually tune out of the broadcast. And the NFL were in a bit of a conundrum because they were worried that they were losing viewers. So in 1993, they decided to go big. They went for the jugular. And they decided to book this guy called Michael Jackson? Yeah, they booked him to perform. They booked the king of pop, Michael Jackson, to perform, and from the moment he stepped on the stage, he stood still. He stood still in complete silence for 90 seconds. I was never going to do it for 90 seconds. I couldn't do it. I'm not Michael Jackson. He had the stadium and the viewers at home in the palm of his hand, and in that very moment, everything changed. He didn't just perform. He turned the halftime show into a global pop moment. All of a sudden, it was no longer cheap entertainment between quarters. It was now the biggest TV performance in the calendar year. And in the years that followed, you had the likes of Diana Ross, Phil Collins, Christina Aguilera, Aerosmith, Britney Spears, and many, many others perform the Super Bowl halftime show. Now, it's fair to say the Jackson family has played quite a pivotal role in the cultural landscape of America. In fact, saying that is an understatement. They have been one of the most iconic and important families in music, full stop. But they've also played a very pivotal role in the history of the halftime show, because Michael performed in 1993, and 11 years later, it was the turn of his sister Janet. And well, we all know what happened.
It has been now almost 2 years since Janet's Super Bowl halftime performance made news around the world. The FCC received more than 500,000 complaints about that broadcast. CBS was fined $550,000. And then the NFL was asked to refund the $10 million that they had been given to the halftime show sponsor. So Janet says that this is going to be the first and the last time that she ever talks about what happened that day.
The year is 2004. It's Janet Jackson. It's Justin Timberlake. It's a piece of fabric, and it's a wardrobe malfunction for the ages. Nipplegate was a scandal. It shouldn't have really been a scandal, to me anyway. How old was I? I think I was 9 at the time. Okay, maybe it was a scandal. I shouldn't be seeing it as a 9-year-old. But Nipplegate was a scandal, and it made the TV execs and corporate America very nervous because of the outrage and the controversy. And that very moment broke the halftime show forever. And not because it was scandalous, but it was because of who paid the price. Janet Jackson, a black woman with a near spotless, impeccable, clean record and legacy, was very quietly blacklisted from everything in entertainment after that very moment. Justin Timberlake, on the other hand, the white man that caused the malfunction, moonwalked straight into continued superstardom. And I use the term moonwalked very intentionally and somewhat ironically in this particular instance. That one incident triggered years of overcaution, and basically anything without a guitar, anything without a rock band was strictly forbidden, strictly prohibited from ever entering the stadium. Because of Nipplegate, sorry, I'm such a child. Why am I smiling at the word nipple? Grow up. I'm a 30-year-old man. Because of Nipplegate, the halftime show basically became the nostalgia show for middle America. No risk, no edge, most certainly no politics, just legacy dad rock acts. And crucially, black artists were largely sidelined during this time unless they came packaged as presentable and palatable and non-threatening. Basically, the Black Eyed Peas. Now, I think this is a very important point to make. Around 70% of the NFL players are African American. So this is a league and a product that is powered by black bodies, black talent, black culture every single match day. And the league's entire cool and edgy factor is because the black people make it cool. Black people make everything cool. Now, don't be mistaken. I'm not trying to say that because of that, only black people should perform at the halftime show. That's not what I'm saying. And if that's where your mind led you, you have terrible comprehension skills. But what I am saying is that you can't have a league and a product like the NFL, like the Super Bowl, which celebrates and profits from cultural diversity, and your main non-sporting entertainment isn't reflective of the very people that make it exciting. So it feels very, you guys can run into each other and risk getting CTE and risk getting life-threatening injuries for my entertainment, but don't you dare take away my rock bands, and don't you dare take away my guitar music. That feels like the subtlety of that to me. And I'm not saying I'm trying to hear hip-hop rap music every single time it's the Super Bowl halftime show. I'm not trying to say that, because I actually pride myself on the fact that I have a very eclectic music taste. I listen to music from all countries, all genres, in different languages. I love music. So that's not what I'm trying to say here. But the year 2010, who the hell is trying to watch The Who? Who the hell is trying to watch The Who? Not me. And then we throw into the mix that by the 2010s, black culture wasn't just influential, it was dominant. And because of that, it posed a bit of a problem for the NFL. The booking of acts for the halftime show in this period showed the brewing cultural and racial tensions developing in America. On one hand, you had the old guard, and these were people that had the idea of what they thought America should sound and look like. Almost exclusively white and almost pretty much exclusively male, and no risk, no edge, nothing out of the ordinary. Everybody just stand in line and do as you're told. There were those people. And then on the other hand, you have a nation of people who have just elected the first ever black president to the White House. Barack Obama was the president of America, and this signaled that the nation was changing and that people were tired and wanted to see change. This was also the time where hip-hop was and still is the biggest genre in the world. AAVE became the language of the world. White kids in England, in Australia, in France, in Canada were using it, and black aesthetics ran fashion, dance, memes, advertising, anything in popular culture. Black art was the formula. And one thing about black art, you can't keep it down. You can never keep it down. And for me, art always has to reflect the times that you are living in. And the halftime show became a bit of a cultural tug of war between these opposing worlds. But young people were tired of feeling like an afterthought. And quite frankly, the old nostalgic white rock acts, they had to go, man. They had to go. We were in a new era. Sorry, boomers. Hey, how are you? I hope you're good and I hope you are enjoying the video. If you are, can I ask just for one very small favor? Very small favor. If you are enjoying the video, could you please hit the subscribe button for me? It helps boost the channel, it helps boost the reach, and it pushes this content out to as many people as possible. I love making these episodes, I love making these videos, but it would be a waste of my time if nobody watched them or if nobody engaged with them. So if you have made it this far, thank you once again. It would really help me out and I would appreciate you dearly. So yeah, thanks once again. Hit the subscribe button, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and back to this episode. Okay, so let's skip a couple of years and let's fast forward to the year 2016, and Coldplay were billed to perform the Super Bowl Halftime Show for Super Bowl 50. Coldplay, a band from Britain, by the way, key information. Coldplay were booked as the halftime entertainment, and honestly, I don't remember a single second of their performance. Not one second. Do you know what I do remember though? Bruno Mars. Do you know who else I remembered though? Beyonce. Even though she headlined herself just 3 years prior, her brief 2016 cameo garnered more attention than anything Coldplay could do by themselves. Also, Coldplay are lit. Coldplay got some bangers. They've got some really good tunes. But there are levels to this. And Beyonce is Beyonce. And this was further proof to the NFL bosses that the halftime shows with a little bit more seasoning just hit better. This was also during a time where the NFL was in need of some positive PR. The Colin Kaepernick case had been brewing for a couple of years at this point, and separately there were conversations around concussion protocol in the league and in the sport. And then a separate issue was the fact that an overwhelmingly white ownership model had an overwhelmingly black workforce optically just didn't really look right. The league felt somewhat tone deaf to the wider societal landscape at the time. So then we go to 2019, and the NFL decided that they wanted to change its strategy, and it partnered with Jay-Z's entertainment group, Rock Nation, who would step in and co-produce the show. And that was a pivotal shifting moment in the Super Bowl landscape. And instead of avoiding black and brown culture, the NFL decided that it was now going to lean into it, and lean into it heavy. Because since 2020, the halftime show has been ethnic. It has been ethnic. Some might even say it's reverse racism. Because in 2020, it was Shakira and J-Lo. In 2021, it was The Weeknd. In 2022, it was Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, 50 Cent, and Anderson .Paak. Obviously, Eminem isn't. In 2023, it was Rihanna. In 2024, it was Usher. In 2025, it was Kendrick Lamar. And now, in the year 2026, it is the turn of Mr. Bad Bunny. But before we get to Bad Bunny, let's go back to last year when Kendrick Lamar performed for Super Bowl 59. Kendrick took to the stage as the first solo rap headliner to perform the Super Bowl Halftime Show, and that performance will go down in history. You see, Kendrick Lamar's halftime show wasn't this typical crowd-pleasing pop fluff. It was never going to be that. It was layered with storytelling, symbolism, personal feuds, and cultural commentary. And one thing about Kendrick Lamar, he's not gonna shy away from having important conversations. He didn't shy away from the subtle messages about the state of America at the time either. From the dancers forming the American flag to Samuel L. Jackson narrating as Uncle Sam, Kendrick Lamar chose the biggest of stages to make the loudest of noise. And of course, how can we forget about Not Like Us? I never thought, genuinely never thought I would see the day a rap diss track would be performed at the Super Bowl. But here we are. Here we are. In fact, the whole will he, won't he, around Not Like Us added further fuel to the excitement around the performance because nobody knew if he was going to perform it. And when he did, it was a moment. We had now gone so far away from the country bands and the guitar music era. We were now fully, firmly locked in the full-blown black era. And MAGA America didn't like it. They did not like it. So do you know what the NFL decided to do this year? They said, well, you thought last year was too black. You thought last year was too black. Well, this year, how about a performer that only sings in Spanish? In stepped Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny isn't just a singer. He is a global pop culture juggernaut with a sound and identity rooted in Spanish language music, Latin heritage, and socially conscious commentary. And his Super Bowl headline slot has turned what was once pop entertainment into another year of cultural debates. For some conservative critics, having a halftime show dominated by a language other than English triggered immediate backlash and arguments that the Super Bowl should be American-centric, which is kind of funny because a lot of these MAGA people don't know their history. They don't know the history of their own country. It's funny because Puerto Ricans are quite literally US citizens. I know that, and I'm English. British. Let's not get into the complexities of British identity. That's for another video. Bad Bunny has been very vocal about issues like immigration policy and the role of ICE in modern day America. And you know, when you speak up against the status quo, the conservative commentators are going to have something to say. The conservative commentators and certain politicians have jumped on the fact that Bad Bunny has spoken out about these issues and have portrayed his halftime performance as something that is politically loaded rather than being solely based on musical merit. For many critics, this controversy wasn't just about the music. It became shorthand for debates over what they feel America looks like, culturally, linguistically, and politically. Then I don't even want to give them that much attention, but here we are, they're part of the narrative. Then we have Turning Point USA, the organization formerly run by Charlie Kirk. We have Turning Point USA, who have decided to give an alternative, the All-American Halftime Show, which will be headlined by the world-famous, chart-topping, musical maestro, entertaining extraordinaire, Kid Rock. Name me one Kid Rock song right now, and I will give you $100. Right now. Name me one song. I'll give it to you. I'll wire it to your account. By the way, I'm filming this the day of Super Bowl 60. I said this earlier in the episode. I'm filming this before Bad Bunny has actually headlined. So at this point, I actually don't know what's happened. I don't know what's happened with both Bad Bunny or Kid Rock. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to edit in something here. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. It is 2 a.m. in the UK. We are in the middle of the night. Bad Bunny has just performed and headlined the Super Bowl Halftime Show in complete Spanish. And what a performance. What an incredible performance. I've only just watched it once and it's still very much fresh in the memory. I kind of want to watch it again to try and pick out the bits that I obviously missed, but I will watch it again once it gets released. But everything about that performance was incredible. It was colorful, it was vibrant, it took us to Puerto Rico, it showed us his heritage, his culture, the music, the dancing, the people. You had old people, you had young people, you had the people getting married, you had Lady Gaga, you had Ricky Martin. The set list was incredible, his fit was incredible, the set design. It felt like I was watching a theatre show. It felt like I was watching a Hollywood movie. I don't know what settings they filmed it on, but the angles and the different places that they were filming from were just incredible. Bad Bunny has this charisma and this, I was going to say aura, but I'm a grown-ass man. But he has an aura about him where it's just so commanding, and you can tell that he was born to be on that stage. He performed every... no, actually, tell a lie. La Mudanza. I can't pronounce it. I'm obviously not a Spanish speaker, but the final song in DTMF, La Mudanza, that was the one song that I wished he performed. I feel like that would have been the perfect song to end on. I don't know why he didn't perform it, but there must be a reason. I kind of feel like the Super Bowl halftime show is actually a very hard show because you only have 13 minutes, realistically 12 minutes and 59 seconds to squeeze in your entire catalogue of music and tell a story and paint an image and really take people on a journey. And considering the time restrictions and limitations, I feel like he worked really well with it. As I said, I'm going to go watch it again. This is my first initial reaction. I think the moment that's going to definitely stand out and the moment that will be beamed across the world and will resonate with people from immigrant communities will be that moment when he's walking and you have the flags of South America behind him and he's listing all the countries in South America, from Chile to Brazil to Argentina to Uruguay to Paraguay to Mexico. Like, that was it sent chills down my spine. Like, the imagery, him walking, the fact that he said the United States, then we take into consideration the immigration issues in America, especially with the Latino community, and how ICE are treating people who aren't from the country or people who look like they're not from the country. That was a powerful statement. That was a powerful moment. And Bad Bunny is exactly who he thinks he is. He is exactly who he thinks he is. And I need to now get tickets to the show. He's coming to London later this year. I need to get tickets to the show. What a performance. Bad Bunny, I salute you. I salute you. Bad Bunny's halftime show sits at the intersection of culture, language, politics, nationalism, and identity. And when you have somebody like Bad Bunny, who represents a vibrant, global, and non-English dominant culture, take to America's biggest stage, some people see it as overdue progress. They see it as, finally, we are starting to make headways in terms of representation in America. And then others, MAGA America, see it as a loss of tradition. You see, the tension isn't really about Bad Bunny, but it's more about how America is trying to figure out what American culture actually is in 2026. And more importantly, who gets to define it. As much as I said I don't know that much about American football, I clearly do. I was just being silly. And the reason why I say that is that we have to also factor in and remember that the NFL is continuing to expand globally. They now have multiple international games across the world, and they are choosing performers that will reflect that global appeal. And as much as the United States of America is always seen as the epicenter of entertainment, there is a whole world out there that does not care about American football. Like, I'll be honest, I don't understand this game. I think it's stupid. No, let me not say that. No, it's stupid. No, it's stupid. I think it's stupid. I find it so confusing and not that entertaining. It's stop-start. And quite frankly, I don't want to watch sport that is stopped every 3 minutes to inject adverts. I don't have the patience or the willpower. The NFL has realized that you can't sell a global spectacle whilst ignoring the culture that drives global popularity. The people that say they don't know Bad Bunny are people that basically say they don't know what's happening in popular culture, and that's fine. But we have to remember, Bad Bunny is literally the most streamed artist in the world. This isn't some random guy busking in the subway. By literal definition, data and metrics show us that Bad Bunny is quite literally, statistically, the most popular artist in the world. He's supposed to be on that stage. I am very intrigued and interested to see where the NFL and the Super Bowl go next in terms of halftime performers, because other than Taylor Swift and maybe Drake, and he won't do it, Kanye West, he won't do it, Nicki Minaj is definitely not doing it, there aren't that many big names in music left to perform. And my prediction for 2027, ironically, goes against everything I've just pointed out in this specific episode. I think next year they go back to doing pop acts. And I think Super Bowl 61 will be headlined by Harry Styles. That's my prediction. Interestingly, that's somebody that's also not American. We won't have the same conversations that we're having about Bad Bunny though. And I don't have any insider information. I don't have any knowledge about what's going on, but that's just my gut feeling. And I also think in the coming years, we will see more collaborations like the one we saw in 2022. And I actually think it'll be the first time we will see an African artist on the billing. And my money is on either Tyler or Burna Boy. Remember who said it first. So yes, the Super Bowl halftime show got black and brown. But what it really means is that it finally caught up with reality. The show stopped being this awkward intermission and started being the world's biggest celebration of what most people are actually listening to, what people are actually dancing to, what people are consuming, what people are streaming, what people actually care about. And at its heart and at its core, it has always been black and brown culture pushing the envelope, pushing the boundaries. So being invited to headline the Super Bowl halftime show is the very least the NFL could do. Okay, so it is 9 p.m. in the UK. You probably can't see that. And yes, I'm wearing we've discussed this in other episodes. I can't be bothered to go through it again. It's 9 p.m. in the UK. It's a couple of hours till Super Bowl begins. And I think Bad Bunny is going to be on around 1 a.m. UK time. So I'm going to be awake for a couple of hours. But we have made it to the end of this video. Thank you very much if you have watched it to the end. I hope you have enjoyed it. As I said already, if you haven't already, please do subscribe and like and comment and share and all of that good stuff. And while I have your attention, these episodes will be on Spotify very, 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 very soon. So you can listen and watch on the go. And if you like this video, you can watch this video that I did last year about why I think Cynthia Erivo leaving England was the best decision for her career. Or if you want to watch another video, you can watch this one on why I think Tyler is the face of African music. I really do believe that. Thank you very much once again, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.